why wait? Unicycle. Well, there it is. The music went, whoa. So you know what that means. It is time to start. All right. We are so glad that you are with us today. So let me introduce myself. Hi there. My name is Devin Henderson, and I am your MC for this incredible event. And I also happen to be an award-winning magician. So I would like to officially welcome you to the RedPropeller Virtual Showcase. Oh yeah, we have got an amazing 2 days lined up for you. 12 incredible speakers from all over the US. 12 speakers who have masterfully crafted their presentation for virtual, and each of these speakers will have 15 minutes to show you what they got. And each of these speakers can make your next event absolutely unforgettable. So you should have received an email from RedPropeller with a list of all 12 speakers, the 6 that are going today and then the rest that are going on Thursday. So I suggest right now that you open up that email so that you can reference that as the speakers present, and then you can sort of like follow along. And speaking of RedPropeller and this amazing team, I am going to introduce you to them right now. So Red Propeller team and also Stephen, could you please just go ahead, unmute yourselves, turn your cameras on, and let's say hello to all of the attendees. There they are. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Susan.
Hey.
Hey, JB. How are you?
Hi.
All right. So let's make some quick introductions. First of all, Stephen Iverson, the one with the Red Propeller logo right behind him, is actually not officially part of the Red Propeller Speaker Bureau team. We enlisted him because he is a Zoom expert. But don't forget that name, Stephen Iverson, because while today he's doing behind the scenes stuff, this guy is actually a master speaker and storyteller. So you can be watching for him in future Red Bureau showcases. And now for the Red Propeller team. First of all, we have Katrina Crivello. Hi, Katrina.
Hi.
AKA Kit Kat, is that right?
Yes, that would be it.
Okay, perfect. Then we also have James Bockham, otherwise known as JB, or actually it's not JB, it's JB. Hi, JB.
Good morning.
Great to have you, my man.
Thank you.
And then also, last but not least, is Susan Lauterbach, AKA the president of Red Propeller. Susan, how's it going? Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you for giving you a chance just to say hello to the attendees right now.
We love having you. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Woo! What a 6 months it's been. But let's get moving. I'm really excited for everybody to see these speakers the next 2 days. So thanks for coming.
Awesome. Wow. See, speakers, that's how you do a speech, right? You stay in your time and you nail it. Way to crush, Susan. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do, the Red Propeller team and Stephen, you can go ahead and turn your cameras off, but stay unmuted because you know I'm a magician. I need an audience and I need you on hand, okay?
Got it.
I have to tell you, and I mean this sincerely, this Red Propeller team, they have become my friends. They're amazing, and I've been working with them for 4 years. In fact, I got to partake in their first showcase ever and several showcases since that time. And it's been amazing to see their graceful pivot to virtual. And I'm happy to be a part of it. And not to mention, there are some people here today who booked me at that very first showcase. So just a quick shout out to Palma. Hey, Palma, it's been too long. It's good. I'm glad you're on here. And then Richard and Karen, what's up? Who I just did my third event for. And they have me booked for next year already. So I love them. I love you guys. Glad to have you here. Okay. One more order of business before we jump into the speaking is just to, the good old chat. Let's talk about the chat. Go into the chat. You can go in there. You can ask questions. You can give feedback. This is the cool thing about a virtual showcase as opposed to a live. If in a live showcase you stood up and you started asking questions and going crazy, people would be like, who is that nut? But in virtual, you can talk to everybody at any time and it's totally acceptable. Even if it's a rhetorical question you think you're hearing, go ahead and answer it, all right? In fact, let's just exercise that right now. Everybody, all the attendees and panelists, go into the chat and just tell us where you're zooming in from today. City, state, maybe you're sitting by a lake. Where are you at? We got Steven's from Kansas. Steven and I, we're actually, we're buddies. We're in the same place. Caitlin's from Fort Wayne. We got Austin, Prairie Village, Kansas, Washington State. Chris Heaters from Minnesota. Mary Green's from Maryland. We got LA. We got LA, Missouri represented. Jen F. Okay, Chicago. Burbs. I love it. The movie The Burbs. Have you guys seen that? Tom Hanks. It's classic 80s. Mission, Kansas. A lot of Kansas people. Minneapolis. Shawnee. Okay, awesome. So you get how the chat works. Well, clearly we have attendees and speakers from all over the U.S. today. So we are going to go ahead and get started right now with our very first speaker, who just happens to be yours truly. That's right. Along with, thank you for the feedback, Susan. Along with being your MC, I have the honor of being your first keynote speaker. So a little about myself. Yes, I'm introducing myself. Again, my name is Devin Henderson, and I have been, as I told you earlier, performing magic. I'm an award-winning magician and have been speaking and performing professionally for about the past 2 decades. But most of all, most importantly, I'm a family man. My wife and I just celebrated 14 years of marriage. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you, Red Propeller team. I appreciate that. And we have 6 kids.
Whoosh.
It's what we do.
Wow.
What can I say? Okay. And they're all girls.
Yo.
Yeah, imagine the comments we get. Okay. People like, no boys? Have you thought about adoption? We're like, we thought about it. Then we were like, nah, let's just keep them. So we're good people. That's what I'm trying to say. So since I'm the person that's going to be with you for 2 days, RedPropeller asked me to do a 2-version keynote, like a 2-part version of my keynote, my signature keynote, which is called Something Greater is Always Possible. So right now we're going to jump in with part 1. Okay. So attendees, if you guys are ready for something greater in your life and in your work, please go to the chat and just say yes. Woo. All right, and let me hear you, RedPropeller team. Are you guys ready for something greater?
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's what I'm talking. We got a yes from Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Bunch of yeses. Something greater, yes. I love it. Okay, if you are ready for entertainment meets inspiration, go to the chat and say absolutely. That's a lot to type out, isn't it? All right, I just need one absolutely. There it is. Thank you so much. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and jump in. As your opening keynote speaker, I am here with one main purpose: to help you realize that something greater is always possible for you. Even if you can't see it right now, something greater is always possible. How do I know that? My whole life, I've lived with something that I call the possibility mindset. The possibility mindset responds to fear, to challenge, to uncertainty, and it asks this question: what else is possible? It asks what else is possible and never stops asking, no matter what's happening in your world or in the world. And I've applied the possibility mindset to many things in my life, and it has allowed me to accomplish and experience some really cool things. From soccer kicks, to magic tricks,
Whoa.
Hey.
and even performing on the world's biggest stage, America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Nice.
And this concept applies to the seemingly impossible things that you want to achieve. So today, I am going to help you discover greater possibilities by magic and mentalism, because they defy the impossible. And then part 2 on Thursday, I am going to help you discover something greater by telling you more about my personal story and how it taught me to pursue greatness and never give up.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and defy the impossible right now with some magic and mentalism. What do you say, RedPropeller team? Should we do this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll tell you guys when to pop on and turn your cameras. So let me start by telling you the difference between magic and mentalism. So magic is what you can, turn your camera off for now, Susan. That's okay, all right? Just so they see the full thing. We'll get you in here in a minute. It's okay, it's okay. All right, so magic is where you're using like sleight of hand and misdirection to amaze people. But there's always that secret behind the trick, right? And then sometimes magic, it's just gross. Yeah. Katrina, I'll mail that to you. I know you said you wanted that.
No, that's okay.
That.
Send it
it's
to
coming to you. It'll surprise you. Now, mentalism is a special flavor of magic. Mentalism is where you are seemingly using your mind to do things that science cannot explain.
What?
So stay tuned for that. All right. But we're going to start with magic because it's the first of those 2 things that I learned. I started learning magic when I was 11 years old, and I was inspired by the new kids on the block. Who wasn't, right? And I remember seeing a video footage of Joey McIntyre. Any Joey fans out there from the chat? Anybody remember Joey McIntyre? This is my sister's favorite. Somebody has to know who Joey. Yeah, Joe. Sarah. Okay.
Here we go.
So this is what Joey did. He was backstage. He showed his hands completely empty, and then he pulled a scarf from absolutely nowhere. And I was like, what? And so I was thinking, I have to learn this. So I went to the library. I checked out about 10 books on how to do magic tricks. And step by step, by staying hanging tough, I learned the right stuff. Those are New Kids references for those of you that don't know that, okay? But I'm going to show you one of those first tricks that I ever learned. Is a rope trick. So you take the rope. It's solid rope. You have my word on that. We got 2 ends, 1 middle, pair of scissors. It's all about presentation, people. The rope gets cut in the middle, and that leaves us, of course, with 4 ends and 2 pieces of rope. And then check this out. The rope gets put back to 1 long piece. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Now, I didn't advance that trick for many years, but when I was about 18 years old, I saw a magician on TV who did some more sophisticated tricks with the rope. And I thought, is that possible for me? So I poured myself into this, and it took me about a year to master a higher level version of this trick, but here it is. Okay, Susan, I'm just gonna go like this. You don't have to pop on the camera yet because we can hear you. You say stop at any time, Susan. Here we go.
Stop.
Right there, okay?
Yeah.
Watch this, no scissors. I just cut it right where Susan said stop.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, now check this out. If you blow on the ends like this, you can take them off the rope. I know, that's what I said, Susan. I was like, what? That's why I had to learn that, right? So now we just have a solid circle with no ends at all. And if you take the loop and twist and pull, you can split it into 2 circles that are actually linked solidly together. And then to get the ends back on the rope, you just give it some magic breath, give it a little shake, and we're back to where we started with 2 ends.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Amazing.
Okay, I'll give an encore. All right, I'll do it. I didn't know you guys were going to like it that much. Here we go. One last time. Here it is. Check this
Okay.
out. Here we go. One last time. Cut the rope. Just like that. Now.
Yeah.
And we are back to where we started. That is the rope trick.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. All right. Now, as I said, it took me about a year to master the higher level version of that trick. And just like with that magic trick, with your talents, if you work really hard, you can also take yourself to the next level of greatness. Okay, so let's keep going.
Thank you.
Let's jump into mentalism. Now, as I told you, mentalism is where you are seemingly using your mind to do things that science cannot explain. And I'll never forget the first time I saw someone perform mentalism. It has that real ooh, ah factor. So let's try this. Every time I say mentalism, RedPropeller people, Stephen, I want you to say ooh, ah. Okay? Let's try, attendees, you do it too, and just imagine I can hear you. So here we go. Mentalism.
Ooh.
Ah. That's amazing. I love it. All right. So the first time I saw someone perform mentalism.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. All right.
Ah.
Someone did it in the chat. Thank you, Susan. So I did this. The first time was I was 30 years old. So I had been performing magic for about 2 decades, professionally for 5 years. And this show was unlike anything I had ever seen. I mean, it wasn't so different in what the performer was doing, but in how the crowd was responding. I knew how his tricks worked and the mechanic behind his tricks, but with this mentalist, people were going nuts. Their jaws were hitting the floor, and they were doing that thing maybe you see where people like are so freaked out, they're just kind of like walking in circles like, what is happening right now? They looked totally bewildered. And I knew that I could do everything this guy was doing except one aspect of it. The showmanship and presentation and delivery to solicit that next level response. So I asked myself, could I do that? Is that possible for me? And I decided, yes, if I work hard enough, it is. So I poured myself into this new kind of craft. And within a year, I had a whole new hour of all new tricks, and I could call myself a mentalist. And it's still a part of what I do today. So let's go ahead and do some mentalism.
Ooh.
You're ready for it now. I love it. Okay. JB, we're going to do just a quick piece of mentalism is all we have time for. I have a deck of cards. I've made a prediction. I've guessed which card you're going to name. It's going to be very obvious that I predicted the right one. But JB, I just want to be clear. You can go ahead and pop onto the screen. Just turn your camera on there, JB. And then the first thing I want you to do is just to clear your mind for me. JB, whoa, that was fast. That was good, dude. I love you, JB. JB, this is not set up. You had no idea I was going to call on you for this, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you could name an obvious card like the Ace of Spades, but everyone's going to be like, why'd he name the most obvious card in the deck? Okay.
Okay.
And there's no jokers. I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm just letting you know this is a free choice. You have 52 choices, so make it completely random. And when you're ready, name the card.
I'm ready.
Name
Four
it.
of hearts.
4 of hearts.
Yes.
You're close. Try again. That's a joke. That's a joke. No, look, this is not going to leave the frame. I'm going to take the cards out of the box. And I want to show you something, JB. But first, you have been called to explore unique opportunities in your life and in your work. And I believe if you trust that, if you respond to that calling, then you will stand out.
Okay.
And speaking of standing out, JB, what card do you think is flipped over?
The 4 of hearts.
You better believe it, my friend. The 4 of hearts.
Ooh.
Woo!
And that is a genuine freak out. He had no idea what was going to happen. So thank you all very much. Let's give it up for JB. He did an absolutely beautiful job. Nice job, my man.
Thank
Great
you.
work. So back in 2014, I knew I was called to explore unique opportunities in my life and in my work. And I poured myself completely into my magic. And I did stand out to the talent recruiters at America's Got Talent. And they invited me to audition for season 9. And I want to tell you something. It changed my life. Would you like to hear about it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll tell you about it on Thursday.
Oh,
Part 2, I know, I'm sorry. Part 2 is coming on Thursday. But for now, just remember this. Something greater is always possible for you.
Yes.
yeah. Thank you.
Now,
Yeah.
speaking of greatness, I want to introduce someone great to you right now. So what do you say? Attendees, RedPropeller, are you ready for your second speaker of the day? Let me know. Let me hear you. Let me see you in the chat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Getting a lot of love in the chat with claps and oohs and ahs. Okay, bring it on. Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Katie. Okay, tell you what. Now's a good time to go ahead and thank RedPropeller. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Stephen, for showing up. You guys can go ahead and turn your cameras off. And we are going to go to speaker number 2. Wondering what's next for 2020? Clarity. Jacob Green is a best-selling Amazon author, accomplished executive, and resiliency champion who has worked with Fortune 500 clients like Mattel, FedEx, and Hyundai Capital to navigate tectonic industry shifts and see change clearly. At a time when we've all been knocked down, Jacob offers proven and effective strategies to leverage adversity as a foundation for personal growth and a rallying point to create authentic performing teams. Please welcome Jacob Green.
Thank you, Devin. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Yes.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Devin. Really enjoyed that. And you got me beat with 6 kids. I got 4 kids, a cat, a dog, and we got another dog yesterday. So I may have you beat in total living animals and humans in the household, but 6 kids, wow, outstanding. Well, thank you very much, Devin, for the intro, and thank you, Susan, and the entire RedPropeller team for having me today. And to everybody that's listening in, I feel very connected. It's even though we're not together in the same room, I feel connected here through the screen, and I'm really honored to be taking 15 minutes here with you today to talk to you about this heavy COVID blanket that we're all dealing with. And my goal today is to give you just one nugget, one tool to help you and your teams and your organizations deal with these challenges in this COVID era and take these lessons learned beyond just dealing with COVID in your organizations. And to really understand this tool and this approach, I have to give you a little background on where I'm coming from. And unlike Devin, you don't have to wait until the next session. You get it right now. So for me, it all started when I went off to college. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring countries and people together. I was very optimistic. And I thought if I could study international relations and join the State Department, become a diplomat, I could create world peace. And the best place to create world peace is Berkeley, California. Berkeley, California. Any other Cal alum out there or Cal Bears fans? Maybe put in the chat box. If you're a Cal Bear alum, I won't say anything difficult. Okay, one out there. Excellent. Sounds really good. Any Stanford fans out there or Stanford alum? Put in the chat. Stanford. Yeah, it's okay. I'll still allow you to attend the rest of my presentation. That's okay. You can stick around. So I went off to study international relations. And when I landed on campus, when I walked underneath Sather Gate, I knew I had arrived. The whole path was defined for me. Every class was laid out. I was going to spend the next 4, maybe 5, hopefully not 6 years attending college and learning how to create world peace. And like most other college freshmen, I got myself a part-time job called a Berkeley guide. And I worked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night in downtown Berkeley, helping people get from point A to point B, mostly college freshman parents that came up to visit. Well, on one particular Friday night, freshman year at college, it was pouring rain. And I decided I wanted to get out of the rain, and I was working as a guide. So I decided to go to the subway station to see if people needed help getting around Berkeley. And my first indication that this was not going to be a normal evening was as I was going down the escalator, a woman was running up my down escalator. She was screaming and yelling. She pushed me away and continued up on Shattuck Avenue. So I wanted to see what was taking place down in the subway. I continued down the escalator, and as I got off the bottom of the escalator, it's a Friday night, the place is packed. The crowd of 100, 200 people parted like the Red Sea. And in front of me, about 25 feet away, I could see why everyone was screaming and running. A man had broken into the glass ticket booth, and he was attacking the 2 agents inside. And he was throwing down their computer screens, and there was papers going all over the place, and he was yelling, "Give me the money, give me the money, give me the money." And the 2 agents were up against the wall inside the glass booth, and they were screaming and yelling the entire time. But I could see something. I could see that one of the agents had an emergency phone in her hand. And I figured if I could just distract a little attention away from the assailant, she could finish her call, the police could come, take care of business, and I could go about creating world peace. So I didn't have a real good plan put together, and so I yelled at the guy, "Hey man, calm down, take it easy, get out of the booth, relax, take it easy." I kid you not, he goes like this, he goes, "Huh?" Didn't know what to do then, so I just repeated myself again. "Hey man, calm down, take it easy, get out of the booth." He listened. He got out of the booth, he slammed the glass door, shaking it, scaring the agents once again. He jumped over a pony wall, and he charged right at me. And as he's running at me, he reached behind his back, he pulled something out, and I only remember about 4 or 5 blows to the side of the head before my entire world went black. And it's at that moment for me in my life that the unfamiliar entered, and I had absolutely no idea what to expect minute to minute, because I had a significant traumatic brain injury and a whole host of new symptoms. Now, probably a lot of you are familiar with traumatic brain injury and know some of the symptoms, but for those of you that are not, I'll explain what my life looked like. Number one, I had a great long-term memory, but no more short-term memory. I couldn't remember anything that happened 15, 20 minutes ago. I had a reading comprehension deficit, so I could read words, but I did not know what I was reading. I had a reading retention deficit, so anything that I did read, I really couldn't remember. I had an auditory processing deficit, so the entire world of auditory stimuli outside sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 wah. I was always tired, I was vomiting daily, really fatigued. And then because of my visual impairment, I had neuroocular motor dysfunction, and any light whatsoever would cause blinding and incapacitating headaches and migraines. And so every day indoors, I had to wear these dark glasses so I could stay hidden and away from the light. Just for today, I'll take them off for you. But of all the procedures and all the challenges that I faced, the one thing that threatened my ability to move forward was the lack of purpose and identity. You see, I had to drop out of college and enter full-time rehabilitation. I had prided myself in telling people that I was going to create world peace and bring people together, and all of a sudden that was gone because I was no longer a student up at Cal. and I was now a full-time patient, 5 days a week, speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, neurology, neuropsychology. And after 6 months of that intensive programs, the doctor said, you're not going back to Cal. Academia is not in your future. In fact, with a brain injury, you're not going to be a diplomat. You need to relocate and enter a 2-year rehabilitation facility to learn how to learn again. So I packed up my college dorm and I headed down to Southern California and I entered my new facility. Except for on this day, when I walked up to the doors, instead of being underneath Sather Gate and feeling like I had arrived, this time the sign said, special programs and services for the disabled. And instead of being with my college buddies, I was with my mom. And to add insult to injury, it was not a college campus. It was an elementary school campus. And so I sat on those little chairs every single day and looked out the window as the second graders and third graders played out at recess while I learned how to learn all over again. And as my dreams of world peace got further and further away and started to disappear, I entered a very difficult low point in my life. A low point at which I would sit in my little 800 square foot studio apartment on the edge of my Murphy bed. And the only thing that got me through each night is I would jump in my car when I could drive again, and I would drive up and down Pacific Coast Highway just to keep myself alive. I knew if I was driving, I was living. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I would come home, crash, and do it all over again. I certainly wasn't attending rehab every day, and I was in a very, very dark, lonely place. And that's when one night, about 10 o'clock at night, my mentor, Bill Holomandaris, gave me a call. He was my mentor back in high school and helped me navigate and get involved in all kinds of community activities. And he said, hey, do you remember that book we read back before you went off to college? I knew exactly what he was talking about. He was talking about Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. Could you put in the chat, anybody here read Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl? Give you 1 second here. Just put yes in the chat if you've read Man's Search for Meaning. Okay, so if you haven't, if you're not typing yes right now in the chat, my first piece of advice for you is pick up that book. Here's the deal. Dr. Viktor Frankl, neurologist and psychiatrist. Dr. Viktor Frankl, born in 1905 in Austria. His family is rounded up by the Germans ultimately, and he is sent off to Dachau and to Auschwitz. But as a good student, as a good researcher, he's in the concentration camps, and he's taking notes on the world around him, any scraps that he could find. And those notes, he's trying to understand who in this very challenging and dark place, who is living, who is surviving. And when the camps were liberated and Dr. Viktor Frankl got out, he had all those little scraps of paper with him. He put those scraps together and they became Man's Search for Meaning, international bestseller, now published in 55 languages. And my mentor reminded me of two things that Dr. Viktor Frankl said in that book that were relevant that night as I sat on the Murphy bed. First, Dr. Viktor Frankl said, forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except for one thing, the freedom to choose how you'll respond to the situation. And the second thing I was reminded of that Dr. Viktor Frankl said is life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning and purpose. And so he said, Jacob, get off the Murphy bed and go do some service. He said, bring it back to service and community. What do you mean, Bill? I'm damaged goods. What are you talking about? He said, call the local county food bank and see if you can volunteer tomorrow. Fine, I love you, Bill. I'll do that. Sure. So the very next day, I called the local county food bank. I said, hi, county food bank. My name is Jacob Green. I'm a full-time patient, and I'm available to volunteer. They didn't hang up on me, which was a good first sign. They said, sure, come on in. So I went into the county food bank the very next day. I came on in, and they said, hey, Jacob, you're going to be working our turkey hotline. Thanksgiving is coming up in a few weeks, and all you have to do is answer this phone when it rings. Jacob Green, turkey hotline, how can I help you? And people on the other line of the phone are going to be asking for turkeys. They're going to be in need of turkeys. No problem. I said, this will be really easy. Turkey hotline, this is Jacob, turkey hotline. Sounds good. I kid you not. I sent turkeys to vegetarians all throughout California. I was absolutely terrible at my job. I couldn't multitask, but with my speech therapist and my occupational therapist, I learned how to do my job. And a couple days before Thanksgiving, my turkey hotline rang again. And this time it was someone who I had spoken to before. And this time that person said, Jacob, I talked to you a few weeks ago. That turkey arrived at my house. It's a big freaking turkey. It's going to serve my family for 6, 7, 8 days, which is good because my husband just got laid off. I have to put food on the table for 3 of my kids. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And she said, thank you. And with those words, I was totally and completely energized. I was fueled up. I had a purpose. I couldn't wait to get to my turkey job the next day. I showed up 3 hours early for my turkey job. I was ready to get going, but more importantly, I showed up to rehab. I showed up to rehab and I started learning the skills to get the pieces of my life back together. And then, contrary to some of the early beliefs about what I'd be able to do, I stepped foot back at the University of California, Irvine, here in Southern California, go Anteaters, and I started taking classes, one at a time. I have the record for the most number of years it's taken someone at UC Irvine to get their bachelor's degree, but after 8 years, I got my bachelor's degree, and after 2 more years, I went on and got my master's degree. And I took those degrees, and I went back into community service, working in government, and while I started as a part-time intern, I ultimately worked my way all the way up, overseeing 1,200 people and a $500 million budget. And you see, my friends, resiliency, what you're going to hear a lot of these days, is inherently optimistic. Resiliency means you are deliberately handling a tough time now because you believe it will be better tomorrow. But not just for you, for your teammates, for your colleagues, for your organization, for your family, for everyone. Let's not stay here. Let's go there. Let's connect people with their turkeys. And together we can leverage this adversity we're all sharing into a better future we can all see clearly. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob. Intense, man. Great, deep stuff. Huge encouragement. We thank you so much for that. Hey, just an FYI to the attendees. The speakers know this, but generally I'm going to pop up about a minute before they're done speaking, before their time is up, just so they know it's about time to wrap it up, because we don't have our traditional clock like we usually do. So I'm not coming on to be rude or to shame them. It just means, hey, we're getting close to the end of your time. So just letting you know that. All right. We're on a roll. Let's just keep going. Are you guys ready for speaker number 3 for the day? I know we're doing the chat a lot, but I want to get those fingers nimbled up. Just give me a hi-ya if you're ready for, okay, awesome. Thank you, Kristen E. Thank you, Susan. Ah-ya, there it is. People are like, how do you spell that? Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much. Okay, speaker number 3. She is an award-winning speaker and recipient of MeetingsNet's top 10 speakers of the year, as well as being the highest rated speaker at the 2014 World Education Congress, which is the premier event produced by Meeting Professionals International. Some of you know it as MPI. Featured on the Discovery Channel's National Geographic Today, Chris's stories come from her own wildlife, from helping breed, raise, and train a team of 16 sled dogs, 16 sled dogs, and from the rivers that serve as the backdrop for the many whitewater trips that she has guided. So if you're ready for your event to stretch toward its wild virtual potential, it's time to meet Chris Heater.
There's this moment when the dogs are on the line, barking, lunging, excited. It's the moment you pull the quick release and everybody starts to pull. Suddenly, it's quiet. Just the sound of runners on the snow, the dogs breathing, all their energy focused on a single purpose: pulling the sled. Imagine everyone on your team pulling to their potential, harnessing the energy of each individual. It's powerful. It's wild. Wild means having the courage to bring the gift of all of who you are to all of what you do. As a musher, it's a dance with winter and dogs. That's it, guys. My job as the leader of the team is to train each dog, to give them what they need as they grow and mature. Wild leadership, it's an art. It's about helping each individual feel aligned, managing a wide variety of personalities. It's okay. Good boy. And embracing differences. It's all there in the dog yard. Managing change and thinking on your feet. Trail conditions can shift in an instant. A squirrel can distract your whole team. It's knowing my job as a leader is to drive the sled. I'm not out front dragging the team along. My place is behind them, supporting them as they do their job. It's the dog who is a fabulous and driven sled dog, but doesn't really like other dogs that much and has terrible communication skills. Or the one who pulls just enough to get by, but isn't really pulling his weight. Wild leaders dig deep, observe carefully, and find a fit on the spot on the team where even these dogs contribute in important ways, making our team stronger. Now's your moment. It's time to let go of how you've always done it and make way for something new, maybe even disruptive and energized. Something wild. It's time, isn't it? Time to bring more wild to your organization. Open our arms and say yes to our clients, to one another. Bring it. Let's see what's here. Let's see what we can make happen when we show up with all of who we are.
Well, now is that moment, isn't it? Let's see how many of us, 45 of us gathered from all over the country to say, what about these virtual meetings? I mean, how much impact can they really have? So it's an experiment and we're exploring together. And then again on Thursday, what is possible if we do this in a virtual setting? For me, I had to take my time with this. I wasn't at all sure that Wild would translate into small separate screens or that the sled dog stories would still hold the impact they do. It's a really different skill set to do this than to be face-to-face and read audiences and all the things that we love to do as speakers and interact with you. I'm happy to say, yeah, it's working. It is working. For me, speaking to small groups or large global events so far, the feedback has been that people can still laugh and cry and learn a lot and connect and engage. Thank goodness for that, because boy, do we need that now. We need it more than we have maybe other times. My name is Chris Heater, and this is Summit, my sleepy yet still nice to have speaking companion. Someone last night at a speaking event I did called him a Zoom therapy dog. So that's his new role. He's becoming a virtual sensation, even through his sleeping or stretching or yawning or leaving. I do this on purpose. I do it on purpose because I want it to feel like when you're with me, we're sitting on the couch together having a conversation. It's the intimacy we get to have when we don't get to be face to face. So it's all right here. If he freaks out at a garbage truck, then he's going to freak out. I do not believe this is time for polished perfection. Right now is to embrace all of the mess and all of the goodness we can find together, even if we have to be separate. So Summit will snore through this and maybe stretch, or who knows, but he gives me somebody to interact with at least. I speak about being wild at work. And here's what I mean by wild. Wild is who you are. It's you at your essence. There's nothing to improve or fix or stretch or reach for. It's just you. Beautiful, messy, natural you. It is underneath the cloaks you wear, the roles you play, even the beliefs you may hold about how a meeting professional ought to behave. It's just you. Beautiful, messy, natural you. So being wild is having the courage to bring the gift of all of who you are to all of what you do. Make sense? Having the courage to bring the gift of all of who you are to all of what you do. Now, typically, if I had a longer time, I'd give you examples of people being wild at all sorts of different walks of life and different work settings and things like that. But I'm going to fast forward instead to the point at which I often ask groups When you're feeling wild, what words come to mind? And I ask for them to give me adjectives. And sometimes we'll use, maybe you've seen the cool word cloud thing where people type on their phones and they show you the words that they have. Or we might do what I'm calling a chat storm, where I say, okay, don't send it yet. Don't send it yet, but we do it all at once. And this is really fun rush of wild words pouring down the chat. But anyway, this is an example of one of those word clouds. And the bigger the word, the more people have typed that word. So here's our sample. And I get it. You could be looking at these wild words going, Chris, this is great. We're pretty busy. And so sometimes we get there, often we don't. I get that. In fact, you probably want to show me your phones, right? Did you pick orange as your color? You want to show me that the whole day is blocked out and full. And so we'd love to be wild at work, and sometimes we can, but it doesn't always happen. I get that. But if you're not showing up to work or creating meetings where wild is your top priority, let's take a look at the opposites of some of the words that people have said to me over and over again as we explore how to be wild at work. So for example, if you're not feeling creative, how might you be feeling? Well, probably kind of stifled, right? If you're not feeling hopeful, this is not good. If you're not feeling spontaneous, you might feel kind of tamped down or rigid. If you're not feeling free, when we're talking trapped, if there isn't laughter, it's probably pretty silent. And if you're not feeling alive, that's a problem, right? Does it matter to be wild at work? You bet it does. Does it matter to create meetings or have conferences that are wild? You bet it does. Does it matter that you show up whole, present, alive, creative, and wild yourself? You bet it does. Indeed, I believe that's the way we will find our way through what we've been given right now. The amount of uncertainty and anxiety and everything that you're all familiar with, showing up as best we can wild, lined up with who we are at our core, the more we'll be able to support one another and create the events, the meetings that we need to have to help people feel connected. Now, I would submit that there are 3 essentials in order to be wild at work. Oops, I just showed you my Zoom instead of my, there we go. To be wildly present, wildly original, and wildly welcoming. And we're going to dive in for just our few minutes today to wildly present, the practice of giving your undivided attention. Now, why does this matter? One of the places I just spoke was for a statewide summit on health and well-being in the workplace. And what they found is that mental health is by far the biggest issue than anything, leaves everything else in the dust. Mental health is it right now for how we support our employees, our colleagues, and our clients. It far surpasses, the next one's way down. Mental health, it's the uncertainty, it's the anxiety, it's the relentless change. It's trying to connect through screens. And then what they're finding also is that a manager's job right now, most experts are saying they should be spending at least 50% of their time just listening, just supporting, particularly remote workers. How do we do that? Well, we're present with one another. That's how we do it. So I'd like you to meet Scrapper. Now, Scrapper is this fantastic dog. She came out of the womb wanting to be a lead dog. And so she's always just had so much energy, so excited, such a fun, loving dog, always eager to go. The thing you should know about all sled dogs, but about Scrapper in particular, is she loves to run. That is her happy place, loves to run. So sometimes what happens with dogs is that when they get to kind of middle age, maybe about 7 or so, some of them start to get afraid of loud noises or storms or things like that. And that was happening for Scrapper. She was just getting a little more agitated when storms came through. Now understand, Alaskan Huskies are escape artists. So she's in a pen with 2 other dogs with 6-foot-high chain link fence and railroad ties buried inside the fence line. So a big storm came through and we're thinking, oh boy, this is gonna be hard on her. So as soon as the storm passed, we ran out to check on her and the rest of the team, and Scrapper was gone. She had managed to dig inside of the railroad tie, tunnel underneath, pop out and go. Now, for most dogs, when they get loose, they go kind of nuts. But for sled dogs, because they just love to run, it's like a switch gets flipped and she just flies. She may come back, she may not. The bond to humans is not about how much she loves us. It's just when she's free, she just runs. In fact, Alaskan Huskies are almost the exact same DNA as wolves, far more than any domesticated canine. So when she goes wild, which I think there's such great examples, she's just off and running and gets really hyper stimulated, hyper elevated, and is no longer really, in her world, centered or present. So we spent the day, of course, looking all over, putting up signs, making calls. We slept out. We camped right next to the dog yard in case she came back during the night. No Scrapper. 3 days, 3 really painful days of drop everything and try to find this dog. No luck. And then, thank all the powers that be, someone drove by and said, hey, I think I saw your dog off in the farmer's field. So I took off at a run. My partner grabbed the truck, went the other way around, and I'm running and I'm running, and I see her off in the distance. So I start to slow down a bit, kind of gently saying her name, because when she's that elevated, if I was to even yell her name, she would likely just take off again, because she's just not in her body right now. So as we start to meet in the farmer's field, remember there was a big storm, right? It was right at the dip. So this big, huge mud puddle. And as I'm getting closer, and I'm thinking, talking to her softly, I need to get down to her level. And just as it happened, the point where we met was in the middle of this mucky, muddy place. And I knew what I had to do. I waded in. It was about mid-shin deep, and I knelt in the mud. And I just knelt there, talking softly to her. And she would plop through the water a bit and come up to me. And oh, I wanted to reach out and grab her so bad, but if I lunged and missed, she'd be off. So I just kept saying her name, talking softly, and she would walk up and sniff and then back off. And I think eventually she got enough of my scent and kind of that reconnection from my voice. And then I know. Are you excited for this story? He says, I've heard it before. I know what happens. Anyway, eventually she got enough of my scent and my voice that she came up, and then she's like, oh, hey, it's you, and came up and licks and hugs and tears. And oh, what a happy reunion it was to get to have Scrapper back with me. And of course, when I took off running, I hadn't thought to grab a leash. So we had a very long walk back with me holding her collar, but it didn't matter. I was just so happy to have reunited with Scrapper. Now, to me, that is a story of wild presence. Again, the practice of giving your undivided attention. That's what she needed from me, just to stay with her. She did not need me to reach out to grab. She just needed me almost to bear witness and believe in her while she kind of wind back down and managed to get lined up enough to reconnect with really her life in this case. This is what is called of us right now, to be this way with one another. And originally, I haven't told this story all that often, but I thought, you know what, we really need it right now. This is not only a warm, fuzzy personal story. This is how we need to be with one another at work as well. Because all of us are having times when we are just hyper-stimulated, elevated beyond belief, and not able to feel aligned, wild, centered. So to be with one another and kneel in the muck together, to be with one another, to be wildly present, because we will right ourselves. We do. We often tip over. We right ourselves as a company, as individuals, as a country, and as the world. We will right ourselves. And what we need in order to do that is to almost bear witness, if you will. And I told this story about a week ago, and I got an email from a manager saying that exactly helped because I so badly want to fix. I'm a fixer. But I knew this person doesn't need that. I'm going to have to just kneel in the muck with them until they find their way back to their own center, to their own place of being wild. Now, this isn't easy to do because we all need it. We're not only the givers of kneeling in the muck, we need to receive it as well. So it takes some work, but it's worth it. And it's worth it because when we are able to stay wildly present with one another, to be wildly original and to be wildly welcoming, we get to be a part of teams and work together in ways that feel a little bit like this. Three dogs pulling two people, using voice commands to ask them to not go this way, but to go that way. You guys, if that's possible, surely we can find a way to communicate with one another. Remote if we have to, but we can do this, to be wildly present, wildly original, and wildly welcoming with one another and create that kind of way in the world. I look forward to working with you in all sorts of wild ways. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris Heater. I'll try to speak for everybody. Bucket list, right? We all want to get on a dog sled at some time in our life, I think. So thank you so much for joining us, and great message. Thank you, Chris.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Wow. What an inspiring morning. One thing I realized as I looked at the lineup, we have such a diverse kind of group of speakers. There's so many different messages and so much, but everyone's positive. That's the great thing I love. That's our common theme here today. Hey, just wanted to let you know that after the conference ends today, after day one, you will receive an email like a survey. So just please take that survey, give us feedback, let us know what you think. We might even apply some of what you say to day number 2, which is, as you know, Thursday. All right, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. Now, if you haven't seen Curtis on Ellen, Dr. Phil, or the Steve Harvey Show, don't worry about it. He hasn't been on any of them yet, okay? But he does travel the country helping helping organizations manage the chaos of people, practices, and profits. With his black belt in 6 Sigma, he helps organizations develop a systematic approach to streamline their corporate processes. Give it up for Curtis Hill.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm excited to be here. So I want to give you some music if I can. I guess not, technical difficulties. One night, my friend and I was walking when a car crept alongside of us and a man yelled out, "Hey, N-words, you guys look lost. How about a ride in my trunk?" Now, I was torn because I was tired of walking, but I was thinking to myself, that was a very rude way to offer someone a ride. That was my first encounter with racism, but it wouldn't be my last. Have you ever been denied an opportunity, overlooked, or excluded because of the color of your skin? Maybe it wasn't the color of your skin. Perhaps it was your gender, your sexual orientation, your age, a disability, or simply because you were different. I was speaking at a showcase, and afterward, a white man walked up to me and exclaimed, "Curtis, you were the most qualified speaker on the showcase today." Imagine the excitement I had on the inside because I knew the only topic he was there to book for, I just delivered on the platform. But the words he uttered next reminded me of my place in society. He said, "But I can't use you." When I inquired, "Why not?" he contended, all while pointing his finger in my face, because the timing for a Black speaker is not right. I must admit, I didn't know if he said white or right. He walked away from me and he hired another white man for all 5 of his engagements. The other white man didn't even speak on the topic, but he hired him not because he thought he was the most qualified, but because he was not Black. As I travel the country and I ask people to remember a time when they were excluded from something and how it made them feel, I get the same responses from CEOs to college students. I hear things like, "It hurt," or "It was painful." Researchers at UCLA discovered that mild episodes of exclusion activated 2 areas of the brain that process the emotional and distress signals of physical pain. Social psychologists and organizational behavioralists suggest that social exclusion is a unique form of mistreatment in the workplace that could have greater implications than harassment. For every employee you have who feels excluded in the workplace, I will point to someone who is 27% more likely to sever their employment with you within 3 years. But don't celebrate too quickly, because while they're there, they'll never show job commitment. They'll never show job satisfaction. And those sick days, they're going to burn through them because they will display more physical and physiological symptoms, according to the University of the British of Columbia. I get it. We are living in and through some very challenging times right now. Boardrooms and HR divisions across the nation are being filled with conversations about racism, equity, and inclusion. Whenever I talk about it, it changes the mood in the room. That's because it's a tough conversation. Doesn't matter if that conversation is taking place in a living room, a classroom, or a boardroom. It's something we all know we need to talk about, but very few people are willing to talk about it. It's like going to McDonald's and ordering a Big Mac when you know you need a salad, or going to your favorite clothing store and buying the size you want to wear and not the size you actually wear. But if you want to change your corporate DNA and the organizational structure, you must be willing to have those courageous conversations. And while those discussions are being held, look around the table and see who is not represented, who should be represented. But more importantly, you might want to look and see who is overly represented at the table. Your tables, your boards, your teams, your managers, and your employees should resemble your end client, the people who are purchasing your products, your goods, and your services. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to count the F's. Now, I want you to read one sentence and count how many F's you find in the sentence. Go. Now, if you can, put your answer in the chat. How many F's did you count? How many F's did you count? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. How many F's? 2, 5, 6, yeah. Yeah, 3, yeah, that's right. There were 6 F's, 6. Most people forget to count the ofs. It amazes me how we all can look at the same sentence and see something different. But what's more amazing is how we all can look at the same people and see something different. This happens because of unconscious bias. Unconscious bias is the unintended preferences of people. We all make snap judgments about people, placing them in categories like age, race, and gender. The problem with our unconscious mind is, yes, it can handle more information than our conscious mind, but when rational thinking is required over snap judgments, our unconscious minds will be wrong most of the time. I wish that we would all stop tiptoeing around this conversation about unconscious biases. We all have them. It's the way in which we navigate the world we live in. Until we pull back the covers on our own unconscious biases, we'll never see people for who they really are. But more importantly, we'll never get a chance to see ourselves for who we really are. I was flying on a red eye from Fort Lauderdale to Chicago, and we were experiencing some turbulence, but I was fine because I'm in the air all the time. I was doing extremely well until the captain came on. Boop! Hello, my name is Susan. I said, oh man, a woman? Then I realized that there was nothing wrong with Susan, that there was something wrong with me. See, if Susan wasn't qualified to fly the red eye from Fort Lauderdale to Chicago through turbulence, Spirit wouldn't have hired her. They charge enough for the bags. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. The very next week, I was doing a presentation for the same organization, and I was on another red eye from Fort Lauderdale to Chicago. I wanted to prove to myself how much I had grown. I had 2 prayers. My first prayer is that we experienced a whole lot of turbulence. My second prayer is that Susan was our captain. We got 37,000 feet in the air, and prayer number 1 was being answered. We had so much turbulence that the flight attendants sat down. I was praying, come on, Susan, come on, Susan. And then it happened. Boop! Hello, my name is Tyrone. I said, oh man, a brother? And then I realized that there was nothing wrong with Tyrone. There was something wrong with me. In my full presentation, I give you 6 steps on how to identify and eliminate unconscious biases. But for the sake of time today, I must move on. My son, Kyle, who's 14 here in Chicago, well, I guess if he's 14 here in Chicago, he's 14 all over. Anyway, I've always taught him not to do things that were typical of his age, his race, or his gender. He came home one day when he was in 3rd grade and he made the announcement, I want to play soccer. My wife and I found a team to put him on and he was loving it. But I must admit, the team was terrible. But the coach was something special. Before he made an important decision about the team, he would consult the other coaches, the players, and then the parents. Cleaver Pop did a study on inclusive decision-making, and they found out that teams made better decisions than individuals 66% of the time on average. Now, we signed Kyle up for what we thought was an all-boys team, but this coach, he allowed girls to play. Gender diverse teams make better decisions than all-male teams 73% of the time. Kyle's league had an age requirement. Every player had to be between the ages of 3rd and 5th grade. Now, coach, he didn't stack the team with all 5th graders like most of the coaches did. His team was evenly split. When teams have gender and age diversity, they make better decisions 80% of the time. See, what I've learned is that diversity is about who's on the team, but inclusion is about who plays in the game. This coach, all of the teams had all Latinx players, but this coach, he allowed and embraced other diversities. He allowed students who had physical and mental disabilities to not only participate, but play in the games. He was good. See, when they widened the study to allow age, gender, and geographic diversity, those teams made better decisions 87% of the time, 2 times faster, and half the meetings with 60% greater results. Our coach, see, he went from being our son's coach to being our coach. He was all about community. We would have these big old cookouts. We would play games. We would eat. We would sit back and have fun. Proximity was taking place. Kyle was meeting people who were different from him, and stereotypes were being crushed. He was protecting his social capital, all while building an inclusive culture. This awful team of misfits, they came together for the last game of the season, and they played in the playoffs, and they won the championship game. Can you guess which one my son is? His team had the racial diversity or disparity of a bowl of Raisin Bran, not 2 scoops, 1 raisin. Diversity is about who's on the team, while inclusion is about who plays in the game.
After years of fetching water and toweling off other people's sweat, Jason was actually in a game. His first shot was a 20-footer from the right baseline.
Was it close? Did you almost make it?
I just airballed it.
I'm like, just, dear God, please, let's just get him a basket.
His second shot missed too, but the third was a charm. A 3-point no-doubter. And Jason wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot.
If I wasn't there to witness it, I wouldn't have believed it, you know.
You caught fire.
I just caught fire. I was hot as a pistol.
Jason ended up shooting 6 3-pointers, one right after the other. He had 20 points total, and each time a shot went in, his teammates and the crowd went a little crazier. His last basket, right at the buzzer, created total mayhem. Because he is autistic, Jason says he's used to feeling different, but never this different. Never this wonderful. Steve Hartman, CBS News, Rochester, New York.
See, what this means for you is the more inclusive and diverse your organization is, the more revenue you will generate. Companies in the top quartile for both racial and ethnic diversity are 35% more likely to have financial returns above the average median, according to McKinsey & Company. See, what I come to find out is equity is the currency of the workplace, and its biggest competitor is comfort. Living in the day and the time that we're having right now with political unrest, with racial tensions at an all-time high, I understand that organizations are on different parts of the spectrum. We have organizations who haven't begun to start the conversation, and I have a program that will address that. We have organizations who are waist deep in the conversation, and they just need someone to come and help get us along just a little bit further. I can address those organizations. And we also have organizations, this is your life's work. You do this every day, all day. We would have a lot of fun in those organizations. I would love to come to your organization and be your speaker. I would love to train. I do workshops, I do keynote speeches, I do live events, I do virtual events, and I would love to be there. Because what we need more than ever is someone who will come and help us have these difficult conversations in a non-threatening way. Someone who can provide some kind of leverage, humor, and integrity to the conversation. I want to welcome back our MC for today and tell you thank you so much for allowing me to present to you, and I thank the entire Red Propeller staff. Have an outstanding day.
Awesome, Curtis. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was incredible. And you have an outstanding day as well, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Wow. I know you meeting professionals are like, wow, there are so many good speakers to choose from. How are you going to do it? Well, the great thing is you have multiple events. So I am nerding out. I'm sorry. I'm starting to get nervous to introduce the next speaker, and you're about to find out why. Okay. This next speaker has been on the front of a Wheaties box. A Wheaties box, for crying out loud. She's been on Leno. She's been on Letterman. She's been on the Ellen DeGeneres show. She's been in the movie Stick It. Stick It, people. All right. She's also the first American woman to win an all-around Olympic gold at a fully attended Olympic Games, which was in 2004. Okay. Do I have your attention yet? Okay. You kind of get how I'm getting nervous and why I'm nerding out. All right. She is also the author of the autobiography, Be Strong. And check this out. She's involved in the Special Olympics, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, the Susan Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, the Outlive Yourself Foundation, and the Children's Miracle Network. Boy, I think she needs to get more involved, don't you? Hey, let's give it up for the U.S. Olympian and gymnast and national and world champion, Carly Patterson.
Well, thank you so much, Devin, and thank you all for having me here today. I'm super excited to share a little bit about my story. And I figured that with us getting an Olympic year redo, that's what I'd share with you all today, that one of my favorite nights of my life, the Olympic all-around night in Athens, Greece, where I won Olympic gold in the all-around. So walking into that Olympic arena is pretty indescribable. It's, the lights are extra bright, the cameras are all up in your face. The Olympic rings are plastered on everything as a constant reminder that you're at the Olympics if you'd forgotten. Palms are incredibly sweaty, and you're just thankful for the chalk bowl to the right. And straight ahead is the vault. And the runway seems like it's miles long. So you sprint down, push off the horse, twist into the air, and then you land. But just barely outside the white lines, which means you're gonna get deductions. And that's not exactly the way you wanna start the competition when you're hoping for a gold medal night. Something that our coach always taught us and tried to drill into our head was to never take a fall or a mistake into the next event or into the next competition, to always look at that next thing, whatever it is, as a fresh start. Well, that's a lot easier said than done. And now creates a tremendous amount of pressure to be perfect for the rest of the night. We moved to the uneven bars, and bars was never my strong event, but you knew if you hit your handstands, hit a clean routine, hopefully stuck your dismount, you were setting yourself up for a good night. Well, that's what happened. Hit every handstand, caught the release moves, and stuck the dismount. That gives you just a little bit of confidence going into the balance beam, which happens to be your best event, your favorite event, and also your opportunity to nail your very own personal skill named after you, called the Patterson dismount. This dismount that my coaches and I came up with is called a round off back handspring double Arabian. You guys know what that is, right? Sure you could just go and do one right now, right? So I'll try and explain it to you, but it's a round off back handspring on the balance beam. And at this point, I'm at the edge of the beam. I jump up in the air, do a half turn, 2 front flips, and then land. So it's a blind landing, very scary skill, very difficult skill, one of the most difficult that you can still do to this day. So this dismount would be sure to impress the judges, but you got to nail it. So you walk up to the podium, take one last deep breath before you mount the beam. And you do the beam routine of your life, not to mention totally stick the dismount cold. Doing the routine of your life when it matters, when it counts most, psychologists call that flow. And my coach just called it going into the zone, being in that zone. And that's what happened in that routine that night. And then you look over at the scoreboard and you see your name move to 4th place in the standings. And you're headed into your 4th and final event of the night, the floor exercise. And normally I'd show you a fun video of this floor routine in this moment, but due to time, I'll tell you guys more quickly. So you go up, you just happen to be last, which means you get to watch every other competitor go, finish up their last routine, and take a deep sigh of relief that they're done while you still have to go. Not to mention the millions of people you know that are watching you. And by this time, getting up onto the podium, you know the exact score you need to get to clinch the gold that night. Once again, you stick all 4 of your tumbling passes and do the routine of your life. You nail the first one, second one, third one, and 4th one. And you run off into Coach Evgeny's arms and you guys think you did it, but you're just not sure. You got to wait for that score. And those few moments feel like a few hours. And then finally, the score comes up and you look over and you see your name, Carly Patterson, USA, #1. Evgeny throws you up on his shoulders. You are waving to the crowd, looking around the arena and seeing people chant USA and wave the American flag throughout this arena. And it's just one of the most incredible and surreal moments of your life. And you think, oh my gosh, you did it. You're the best. So what's next? You know, I've learned that the what's next can be another mountain to summit. And I've learned over the years that the what's next never seems to get easier. It's called the curiosity quotient. What are you curious about? You know, I did learn one thing the hard way, that just because you're great at gymnastics doesn't mean that you're going to be great at everything else that you try, or that everything else that you try is going to work out. The curiosity quotient is a process of patience and innovation. So what do you do after you win an Olympic gold medal? Well, you go home, finish high school, of course, then you start college. And school was just never my thing. It was never my strong suit. I always struggled. And it took me about 8 years of going on and off to finally get my degree. And I did not finish out with any kind of medical degree to show for it. Oh, and there my light goes. So, sorry, that distracted me. So I don't have, anything to show for it, but was it worth it? Absolutely. Couldn't pay me to go back though. So the curiosity quotient lives on. What do you do after you win an Olympic gold medal? Well, the next logical goal you should set for yourself is to go and win a Grammy, because how hard could that be? You already won an Olympic gold. Yeah, turns out that's a little bit harder than I was thinking. Quick backstory on the singing though. My dad, I watched him growing up. He led worship in church, was on the worship team all growing up, and has always been a singer in a band, still a singer in a band to this day. So I've always had this love and passion for music and never the time to pursue it. And so I thought, this is the time. So I start pursuing this new career, and it's kind of funny when you do something like win an Olympic gold medal or, you know, have some big accomplishment in your life. A lot of times people like to put you in a box, and it's hard for them to see you to try something different. And when I started kind of coming out with this new singing career, there was a lot of mean people and a lot of hurtful things said that was hard to hear. And it made me want to do it that much more, and it made me want to prove those people wrong. But I pursued this career for 5 years. It's in my DNA not to quit, not to give up. But somewhere along that journey, I start to realize that, you know what? I just don't think this music thing is for me. I just don't think that this is the career path. I love it, but I just don't think it's the career for me. And it was hard to let go and say, okay, I'm going to let this go when I hadn't accomplished those goals yet, when I hadn't proved those people wrong. But when I finally did let go of that pressure I was putting on myself, the pressure other people were putting on me, it was like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. So as you can see, life changes course sometimes, and mine changed again when I met the love of my life at a mutual friend's wedding after locking eyes over the mashed potato bar. That is a true story. We date for a few years, get engaged, decide to get married. We do married life for a few years, and then we decide, hey, I think we're ready to start a family. And once again, you know, most people starting out trying to have a family, you think it's going to happen right away. Learn that the hard way too, that that's not how that works a lot of times. So a year goes by and nothing's happened yet. So we decide to go see a fertility doctor, see what's going on. I learned that I have PCOS and some other things within that are going to make it hard for us to conceive on our own. So we start our first month of fertility treatment. Boom, we get pregnant. And we're really excited. And we're like, wow, that went too bad. That didn't take long. And we go in for our first sonogram to see the baby for the first time. And the screen pops up and there's no heartbeat. The nurse can't find the heartbeat, and the baby had stopped growing, and we learned that we were going to miscarry. That was one of the hardest moments and things that I've ever had to go through in my life, because you go from wanting something so bad for so long, and finally you're told that it's happening, and you are on cloud nine, to it all getting ripped away in an instant, and then you're at the lowest of lows. That was a really difficult time and period for me. There was a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of tears, a lot of pity parties thrown. And one day my mom has this sit-down conversation with me, and she says, Carly, how do you expect something as beautiful and amazing as a little baby to grow from you right now? You are so mad and angry and bitter. Why? I know that this is, you know, the hardest thing that you've gone through, but why not try something different? Why not try waking up every single day and being thankful and grateful for the blessings and the things that you do have in your life, even though you're waiting for this one thing still? And that hit me hard. And that, along with my faith, is what kind of started to get me out of that spiral and out of that hole that I was in. And, you know, it didn't change everything right away, but I have a question for you guys. Well, first off, I wouldn't change that journey. I wouldn't change a single minute of that journey, every year, every tear, every fear, every heartache, because it was all worth it, because it got me to a better me, and it grew me to a better version of myself. And I was able to truly go from what I thought was my best to so much better. So let me ask you guys a question. What is your vehicle for seeing yourself through life's challenging times? Maybe for some of you, like me, it's faith. Maybe it's family, leaning on family and friends. Maybe it's letting go or starting over. And whatever it is, that is what's going to help you grow and become a better version of yourself and help you get from your best to better. You know, life is going to throw us challenges and setbacks, but we always have the choice in how we want to deal with those things and who we want to become through them. Life is going to present those difficulties, those ups and downs, but what truly defines us is how we let those things take us from our best to better. Thank you guys for having me. I look forward to hopefully working with you guys in the future. Thanks.
Awesome, Carly. Thank you so much for your story and for your transparency. That was absolutely awesome. So, wow, very exciting. Oh my goodness. Are you feeling this today? Are you feeling the roller coaster, the highs, the lows? It's just incredible. It's like this showcase, even in and of itself, is totally inspiring and amazing. So thank you so much, speakers, for taking part. Okay, guess what? We are like ahead of schedule. Every speaker today has crushed it, has either come in on time or under time. So great job to you guys. We thank you for that. In fact, that's even going to free up a little bit of time to do a little bit of magic at the very end of today. So that's going to be fun. So stay tuned for that. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and introduce your next speaker. This speaker creates custom poetic experiences for corporate events and associations and has performed at venues from New York to California and everywhere in between. You've seen him on HGTV, the Oxygen Network, and HLN. And he's here today to share a fully custom experience that he created for the National Association of Realtors. If you are looking for something that will make your next event truly, sorry guys, if you're looking for something that will make your next event truly different and exciting, this is the speaker for you. Make some virtual noise for Lane Schuler.
Hello, everybody. I hope I'm looking good. Hope I'm sounding good. Pleasure to be here today. So there it is. My grandpa's chair. Every Saturday, he'd sit there. He'd watch the sports. He'd scream. He'd laugh. Everything that a human would do that would make him alive. What happened? Right there in that chair. And now it's so quiet. And you know, my dad, he couldn't bear to pick up the phone. So that's why I called you. Realtor, real estate agent, home sales person. I don't know what to call you. I just know we need help. And I miss him. Now, any realtor who's in the business long enough will go to a listing appointment like that one, and they will spend time in a home that is greater than the sum of the 2x4s and drywall that hold it together. And yet, when people ask us what we do, we say we sell houses, as if that is who we are. But really, who we are was determined a long time ago, back in 1908 in Chicago, Illinois, when 120 real estate agents joined forces into one association with the goal to unite the real estate agents of America for the purpose of effectively exerting the combined influence upon matters affecting real estate interests. To put it more clearly, they wanted to make agents' lives easier and give the clients a better experience. Now, 110 years later, we are 1.1 million members strong across 54 state associations, the largest trade organization in the country. But that isn't all we are. The way a piece of land isn't just the hills and the streams, it's a field for the dreams. The way a house is more than the foundation and the frame. Realtors are more than the pieces in the game. They're the catalyst that makes home ownership happen. We are selling the place with the dining room table where you opened the college acceptance letter, the same college that eventually led you to her, the same her that led you to the baby, the same house that gave you baby's first steps and baby's first words and baby's first projectile diarrhea across the room, the same house that had the posts with the kids' heights marked on it year after year. It's the house with the couch that baby slept on every night. And you'd pick them up every night, put them to bed, until one time, without knowing it, you picked them up for the last time. We're not just selling drywall and cabinets. So I got a text message. No capitalization, no punctuation. It said, we're going to lose the house. We need you to find us an apartment. Now, the hard worker in me said, yes, absolutely. I will do that. I will do everything I can to find you a place to live. But then the human in me, the realtor in me said, give me an hour and I'll be there. And there we sat for 2 hours, helping these people navigate the waters of a foreclosure. And by the time it was over, not only were they able to get their house sold, they walked away with enough money to start over. We don't step up and do things like that for the money. There are easier ways to make a living, right? We do it because we are driven by the desire we've been given to bring people home. It is stories like that that make the long nights worth it. But there's still people out there who say they want to get into real estate because this job is easy. But they're right, you know. Selling real estate, it is easy. It's easy like driving on an ice-covered street. It's easy like trying to tie your shoes with your feet. It's easy like staying up until midnight to write an offer for your client. It's easy like telling that same client that the seller chose another offer. It's easy like having a front row seat to seeing your two favorite people fall in love, get married, get you to find them a house, get a baby, get the dream job, and get promotions, and get busy, and get distant, and get cold, and get depressed. Life can be a mess, but you still have to be the one to answer the call. You still have to be the one to put the sign back in the yard when their 6-year-old son keeps knocking it down because he thinks that if he can stop the house from selling, then maybe mommy and daddy will have to stay together. So yeah, maybe selling real estate isn't so easy. But you didn't become a realtor because it was easy. You did it because you were driven by the desire you were given to bring people home. They don't pay us for our mathematics. They are paying us for the human touch. We are more than the numbers. We are more than the algorithms. They could never build a website that could add the number of names carved into that log, that can divide that by the cross in the yard where they buried their dog. They could put together an equation, but it will never come close to teaching a brand new buyer all of the ropes and add the amount of courage needed to take governments head on. They will never come up with a Zestimate that can properly handle the emotional weight of a scared 7 a.m. phone call from a scared former client that says, hey, it's me. I know you probably don't remember me. You sold me and my wife our first house last year. But last night, my grandfather decided that he didn't want to live on this earth with us anymore. And, you know, he was never the same once the cancer took his wife away. And my dad was too heartbroken to call, so all I can think about is every Saturday in the fall I spent in Grandpa's chair watching football every Christmas morning I spent here is haunting me. We just need somebody who can be there for us. And that's who we are. We are there. When our clients are scared, when our neighborhoods are broken, we pledge to rebuild them for today's buyers and their children's streets, alleyways, old country roads. We will not give up or abandon our code. But we're also part-time marriage counselors and room measurers and interior decorators. So yes, I can tell you the difference between dovetail soft close and an RTA Euro. I can tell you the difference between herringbone pattern and offset brick pattern. And I know when to use unsanded grout versus sanded grout. But if it's an 1/8 of an inch space, then it can technically go either way. At least that's what they say. But if it's subway tile, you should probably use a little bit less. But I digress. Beyond that, we are community advocates, putting our cities on our back, fighting for property owner rights, fighting for what is right every day and every night. We turn desolate buildings into the hottest brewery in town. We take on unfair laws that strangle property owners. So yeah, we're all of that. And no, I'm not a contractor, but I do know the best roofer in town, the best plumber. You want a good electrician? You know I got his number. And people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. But if you don't know who you need to know and what you need to know, you'll never know all you need to know to get your client where they need to be. The closing table. No, bigger than that. Their new house. No, bigger than that. Home. Because that's what we're doing, right? We're not selling people stuff. We're bringing people home. And that is who we are and more. Because we believe in one simple principle. Under all is land. Upon its wise utilization and widely allocated ownership depend the survival and growth of the free institutions of our civilizations. Under all is land, and it is our duty to protect and serve the people that set foot on that land, the people that dance on that land, the people that love on that land, the people that eat, sleep, and breathe on that land, the people that jump, shout, and sing on that land, the people that live, die, and grieve on that land. And for those people, we pledge to protect it. And for this land, we pledge to protect it. I don't care if it's shag carpet or crushed velvet. If you can spell it, we can sell it. However we're directed. And when you wear that letter, you better respect it, because that is who we are. Thank you so much. My name is Lane Schuler. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you all in person this spring. If you like that, I can do a custom work for literally anything. I've done associations, corporations, you name the mission, we'll bring the product. Thank you so much.
Hey, Devin, we're going to jump in here and ask you to fix the mic.
How's that?
Awesome.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Steven. See, I told you, Steven is like the Zoom dude. He's like, telling me when my mic turned off. Don't know how that happened. Lane, this is the third time I've said it now, but this time you're going to hear me. Thank you. Incredible. Amazing. That wraps the day. He wrapped the day with a wrap. That was, I don't know if he planned that or not, but very cool. And you guys have a lot of free time now. We came in way under the 2-hour mark, which I'm going to take advantage of that. And we're going to ask the RedPropeller team to come back up to say goodbye with one last quick magic trick. So don't leave yet, because this is going to be really, really fun. So they're going to go ahead and unmute and pop their cameras back on. And we're going to do one last really cool thing together. So, hey JB, how you doing?
Hey.
What's going on? Hey, Susan.
I did it.
Hi, Katrina. How are you?
I am great, thank you.
Good. And Steven, you can pop back on too, man. We'd love to have you. All right, here's the team again. So let's see. I think we'll go with, let's do Katrina this time. Katrina, do you want to help me out?
Of course I do.
Okay. And I do have to ask, because we have to know, because your name looks like Katarina,
Yes.
but I've always heard people call you Katrina. So I'm dying to know, which is it?
It's Katarina.
Katarina.
Okay, so I'll just go with Katrina then. I love that. I'm not going to attempt that right now. I'm going to practice that, and then maybe on Thursday I'll come back and say it's somewhat close to right. Is that fair enough?
Sounds great. Hence the Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Hence the Kit Kat. All right. Okay, cool then, Kit Kat. We're going to do a little thing here together. Are you ever around kids?
Yes, I am.
Well, tell me what kind of kids you're around. Who you're around?
Mainly I'm around my 4 grandchildren. So they range from 1-year-old up to 11 years old. And then I have 3 children.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know about this. This is perfect. I really didn't know. And by the way, we haven't arranged anything. You had no idea I was going to call on you for this, correct?
No, I didn't.
So don't be nervous. Don't be nervous. It's very simple. As I mentioned at the beginning of our time today, I have 6 kids, all girls, and I dream about my kids all the time. Stephen, go ahead and unmute, and RedPropeller, yeah, you guys unmute because we want to hear you also. So do you ever dream about your kids or your grandkids, Kit Kat?
Sure.
Sure, it happens, right? Well, can I tell you about a dream I had recently?
Yes, of course.
Okay, I had a dream that my 6-year-old Elsie came up to me and said, "Hey, Dad."
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Devin.
Can't hear you.
Okay, I switched microphones. I think my battery died. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. That'll work for the rest of the time. I'll put in fresh batteries for Thursday. Believe it or not, these were fresh batteries. What's going on, Duracell? Come on. All right. Okay, so this dream, I had a dream that my 6-year-old daughter came up to me and she said, "Dad, I want to show you a magic trick." And she had her notebook with her. So I've actually got this notebook right now. Shh, don't tell her. And she's an artist. Elsie likes to draw. We're going to go to a blank page here. Okay. Now, Kit Kat, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to do what Elsie asked me to do in the dream. Got it?
Okay.
Okay. So she said, "Hey, Dad, I want you to imagine an amount of money less than $1. And she said, "And I want you to hold your hand and pretend like you're holding coins." So Katrina, can you do that for us right now? Just pretend like you're holding coins.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. And I want you to, don't say it yet. I'll have you say it in a minute, but just imagine a number for me, less than $1.
Okay.
All right. You thinking of a number?
I am.
Okay. In my dream, Elsie looked into my eyes and she said, "Dad, I'm going to read your mind and tell you how much money you're thinking of." So people, this would be mentalism.
Right.
Ooh.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. So Katrina, I'm going to try to read your mind right now. Think about the number. I also got the crayon. Don't tell her. Okay. Okay. Going with my gut on this one. It's not pretty, but it's adorable. So, okay, you still got the number, Kit Kat?
I do.
Go ahead and tell everybody the number.
33 cents.
33 exactly?
Yeah.
This is crazy, guys. I guess that dreams do come true.
Gosh, come on.
Ooh.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. And let's hear it for Kit Kat, everybody. Woo! Woo! All right. Well, RedPropeller team, you can stay on because we're about to sign out. Well, everybody, that wraps day 1. Again, your speakers for today were Jacob Green, Chris Heater, Curtis Hill, Carly Patterson, and Lane Schuler. And thank you for all the love in the chat. This is great. Thanks for the claps, Kristen. Okay. So a survey, again, will come to your inbox when this is over. Please fill that out for us. And then join us for day 2, which is going to be this Thursday. So September 24th, new time. So 2 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. And notice that there is a different Zoom link for Thursday's meeting. If you don't have that link for some reason, let your RedPropeller representative know, or you can just email Susan at susan@redprops.com. Again, that's susan@redprops.com. And Thursday, we have a whole new lineup of speakers. We've got Jesse LeBeau coming. We got Randy Dean. We got Joy Earl, Lori Husband, Antarctic Mike, Gaurav Bhala, and then also part 2 of my keynote. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys on Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
We'll see you soon.
All right, bye-bye.